I think one of the greatest and most important lessons that I've learned ever since I started my crypto journey is that code is law. So no matter how pretty the package is, no matter the amount of hope you are given, no matter how big the promises are, at the end of the day, numbers do not lie. And unfortunately, this thing applies majorly on projects like Drip, who thrived during the bull run 2021 and started declining at the beginning, or let's just say towards the middle of 2022. And unfortunately, ever since, this project, or if you want to call it, this whole ecosystem is hanging by a thread, and it could honestly derail strongly at any moment in an exponential situation kind of way, right? And no matter how many times I try to argument about the numbers, there will always be someone who will come out and say, but this is coming, but that is coming. So let's quickly look into those numbers that I'm talking about and understand why, at least right now, with the current situation, that this ecosystem is doomed to fail. Now, first and foremost, even though I'm calling Drip an ecosystem of the sorts, I'm not gonna get into definitions and bias in regards to whatever you want to label it, because at the end of the day, if you say the facts, people will argument otherwise. And not only argument, but perhaps they have their own beliefs, because if your money is involved, means you are biased at the end of the day. So you don't want to lose money, right? Nobody does. So instead of just, embracing the facts, the ugly ones, so to speak, you try to remain hopeful because you want to end up in the green and not go down in the red. Now, first things first, very clear here, I'm not going to discuss much about the price because it has been if I show you the chart ever since I last covered this versus today, that's perhaps the only good thing between quotation marks that remains, is that the price hasn't fluctuated much. Now, it did have a small run up, as you can see. Like, I think last time I made a video, it was end of Jan, so we were, or let's just say beginning of February, so we're somewhere here. You see, so yes, true, the price dropped a bit by a few cents, but overall in the grand scheme of things, in 2 months, it's still fluctuating within a specific range, and that is perhaps the only positive thing I have to say. Now, also keep in mind that all of the numbers I'm about to show you are pulled out from Dune Analytics, also from other similar websites, so by no means those are numbers that I'm just pulling out of nowhere and making things up. And the projections that I've made are also based on accurate historical figures, ratios, absolute numbers, etc. So without, talking too much, let's quickly jump into those figures that I'm about to show you. So I'm gonna pull them up right about now. And just from a faucet obligation type of perspective, because generally speaking in a protocol, this is like a small DeFi recap, so to speak, you have obligations due to investors, because investors put in money and they expect yield in return for investing that money. Now, they could invest through the native asset that is, of course, under controlled inflation, hopefully, if it's real yield, of course, and then the yield generated by the platform will flow back into the investors, and the ratio of revenue versus price of that DeFi token is what we care about. So am I making enough to justify the price that I want to pay for this DeFi token, right? But in something like Drip, it doesn't work like this, because Drip pulls money and attracts money from various investors, and that's it. There's no real yield going on here. So you are getting paid in Drip tokens that can be minted if need be, and there's nothing to offset this from a revenue perspective. So it doesn't provide revenue. The only revenue, between quotation marks, that you're getting is people buying these tokens and putting their own money on the line. So if that didn't exist, there would be nothing to cover obligations. And that brings me to the highlight of this, is that right now we have more than 200 million drip sitting in the faucet, projecting to be at 1.5 billion by the end of this year. My previous projection at the end of January was 1.1 billion, and now it's 1.5. So clearly that number will keep growing because the growth is exponential. It's much larger than you would expect. And in percentage terms, that's about 0.78% a day in global faucet growth, because we need to keep in mind that we need to also discount the maxed out wallet, which I did. So if anybody wants to bring up that argument, you can leave it be, because I did do that. I did discount the maxed out wallet, and that brings me to a daily dripment of about 14.8 million. That's per day, right? That's 1% of that total amount by the end of 2023. And if and only if, right now the price sits at about 40 cents. So if the price becomes 1 cent when this happens, you're gonna have a potential daily sell pressure of 148k, which is by nowhere even close to being offset by buy pressure, which is, like I said at the beginning, the only thing that you can account for when it comes to offsetting obligations in the drip faucet. So it's insane how much money you need to keep up this level of infrastructural flaw / tokenomics flaw that is currently happening within drip. Now please understand that by no means I'm trying to exert fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Those are just the numbers, like you cannot keep paying investors with a hyperinflated asset, because hyperinflation leads into the death of a certain currency. That's how it was, that's how it always be, all right? And the number of drip sitting in wallets also add to my theory, because this number checked yesterday was about 5.5 million, now it's 5.6. So this number is ever growing. All these people are just waiting for the right moment to sell off their drip. Why else would you keep your drip into your wallet? Because the only thing that you're hoping for is that something will come out at a certain point in time that will perhaps give a small spike in price for you to offload your drip tokens. Now, of course, there are people selling their drip tokens on a daily basis, but the amount that is being stacked is largely above the amount that is being sold. All right, so again, unfortunately, ever since this was covered last time by myself, end of January, beginning of February, nothing new happened. There were a few mentions of some lottery protocol that was supposed to burn drip tokens, or maybe not burn them, put them into the faucet, which is also a double-edged sword, because yeah, it's true, you are feeding the tax vault. Let's go into the token page on BIC scan. You are indeed feeding the tax vault, which is close to zero right now. I think if I go to the second page of the holders page, maybe I can find it. Oh yeah, that's the not even. Anyways, so yeah, true, you are feeding the tax vault, but you're also exercising pressure on the total amount of drip in the faucet. So with that number being grown, so does your obligation. So it is perhaps a small short-term solution, but by no means a long-term one, all right? And I think there's also another game that will be displayed on the Animal Farm, but again, nothing has been done. We're still waiting for more than a year for a user interface that I could personally create. I have no experience whatsoever in WordPress or any other type of website creation system, but it's not so complicated. It's just a template that exists that will be customized. And speaking of websites, I also have my own, force of habit. I did create, I'm gonna right now go into it and show you. I did create the DeFi Ascension landing page, and this took me 1 day, and it's pretty simple. I'm not gonna argue with you here, so I'm gonna quickly scroll down here. You can quickly go over it if you wish, so I'm gonna leave a link to it below. You can quickly see what is out there, but it's just a small landing page that displays projects that we're involved in, projects that we support, videos on the YouTube channel about these projects, as well as if you want to join our Telegram room, and also if you want to go on Twitter to check what we're doing up there. And there's also a separate link to our own project that I've covered on this channel, and you can also look at what this project is doing. It's not driven by inflation whatsoever, it's actual real yield. You can quickly check the video here if you want to have a quick overview on the project, and you can buy our NFTs, which are the core incentive behind this on OpenSea, because all of them have been minted. I mean, the point of all of this is for me to tell you that a website can be created in a matter of hours or even days. So I don't even know, of course, with the complications of a DApp whatsoever, it's gonna take a bit more, but surely not more than a year. That is unspoken for, and that is unprecedented. And that brings me to the conclusion I have here. That brings me to why I think we are doomed when it comes to this ecosystem, regardless of the animal farm. I'm not gonna get into this right now, all right? So just quickly to give you a few headlines on this. Right now, we are in an exponential growth in regards to liquid drip, and I showed you this right now. 50% of the total supply of 10.7 million, which was 10.6 million yesterday, is sitting in wallets. And there is so much more to go about. That is indeed the total supply that is ever increasing, which is right now sitting at 10.6 times, or specifically 10.7 times the initial supply that was supposed to be 1 million. It's insane, right? So those figures can make you shake in your boots, because this price cannot really hold. It's right now it's hanging by a thread from community engagement and trying to keep up with this price. But if an avalanche were to occur, and there's literally a huge snowball chilling on the top of the hill and a small wooden stick holding it. How much longer can this small wooden stick hold before all of this comes crumbling down? I don't know. I hope this wooden stick will evolve to something much more substantial, right? Because with no added utility, that we don't have anything for a year now for drip. Nothing. Like, we have promises, we have hopes, we have AMAs, all of that, but nothing has really been done. And because of this, liquidity is being sucked out from both drip and animal farm as we see their native assets plummet over time. Yes, you can experience a short-term price increase, but by no means this is sustainable. By no means. All right. So I really hope I brought some value with all of this. Again, I'm not trying to exercise FUD. I'm just putting the numbers out there for people to know where they stand. Like, all of this was lucrative a year or more than a year ago, but right now, by no means it is, especially with nothing being done. All right. So I really hope you stuck around till the end. I value you if you do, and I thank you if you do. See you on the next one. Have a good one.